All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday, April 18th. Happy Friday to everyone out there. We have a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays. So I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's all free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. So 2 nights ago, I thought we bounced back. But last night, we bounced back in a big way. Give me some damn crowd noise for that one. We go 8-2-1. Our one push being Davis under hits, runs, and RBIs. He does not suit up for the Pirates. But man, oh man, you know what? One more cha-ching. What a night last night. 8-2. So that means that when we went on that bad run, we went through 14 plays, 3-11, right? In the last 2 nights, we've just flipped that back to an 11-3 run. So I don't know. I'm a runner. I'm a track star, whether it's good or bad here. But it's good to see a nice big green night come through for us last night there. We don't have to go through all of these, but a few first 5 unders came through for us. And man, oh man, these under hits, runs, and RBIs that we've been rolling out have just been, knock on wood, because I know I'm a big jinx here, but they have just been absolute money. We didn't lose a single one of those yesterday, and we had a hell of a lot of them on the card there. But that's all yesterday. Because we did good yesterday doesn't mean anything about today. Let's hope we can pull some of that momentum and bring it into today, though, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Really do appreciate everyone rocking with us at the start of the season. I love reading the comments. Speaking of that, drop your favorite plays down in the comments because you're helping out a ton of people on the regular. Go ahead and do that, but really do appreciate all of the support, whether we're winning or losing. Obviously, that's this industry. I'm definitely not that good at it, that 8-2 night. So yeah, hopefully you guys, just enjoy the videos and feel like we're giving you guys something that you can watch each and every day, right? But enough of that rambling. Let's go ahead and dive into game number 1 here. Like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're looking at the Cubs taking on Arizona. Now, you look at that total and you're like, whoa, 11. It's at Wrigley, and there is like over 20-something mile-an-hour winds blowing directly out to the outfield, and it's nearly 80 degrees there in Chicago today. So, yeah, I think that has something to do with that total being up there. Corbin Burns on the bump for the D-backs, going up against Colin Rea. Surprisingly, Corbin Burns probably, I don't even know if it's arguable, worst season so far that we've seen from him in a little while. He hasn't looked all that tremendous. He's boasting a 5.3 ERA. He's really struggled on the road as well, but he's going up against Colin Rea, who sure has some good numbers on the year. He only has the 1 start under his belt, but he's made an appearance in, I think, 4 or 5 games, and he's looked okay. I would give him the okay nod. The problem here is that Colin Rea lets up some hard hit balls, and he also lets up a decent amount of balls that come off the bat in the air. And with that wind blowing out, it makes me a little worried, even with these 2 guys using their numbers against the current guys on the roster, right? So I say that all the time. When I say Colin Rea versus this current roster, it means if you had John Smith, who used to play on the Yankees, and he faced Colin Rea, and now he's on the Diamondbacks, it counts towards these numbers. But launch angle in 43 plate appearance against average launch angle over 27%. So obviously it's coming off the bat at a decent angle, whereas Corbin Burns keeps it on the ground a little bit more. He hasn't had the best of, I would say, ground ball to fly ball ratio, and I'm focusing on that today because of the wind, and if a ball gets hit up there, what might be a pop-up may actually fly over the wall today. But for that reason, I am going to lean towards Corbin Burns. I don't know if I get there myself with this today, because one, Burns hasn't been all that great. I don't think him going up against a really good Cubs lineup when the Cubs are at home and when there's crazy wind out there is the best of situations, but I do think that the Diamondbacks offense can get to the Cubs. So this is either an Arizona play or an over, because Arizona's bullpen's also kind of taxed, so maybe Arizona first 5 if you like Arizona, but I think both of these squads could put up a decent amount of runs today. My problem is that total has already kind of beat us to it, right? So, yeah, I'm agreeing with it. I think it's a pretty well-priced line. I'm going to lean towards Arizona as well as the over, and then no player props as of right now. That said, this could be a home run type spot today if you guys are interested in home runs. I don't roll with too many of them, but could be something that we look into a little bit more today. Next up, Pittsburgh taking on Cleveland, and we might have our first, only took us 2 games, our first look at a first 5 under here. This total's at 8.5. Right now you can get under 5, so we do have the push potential there. A little bit of a safety net. Under 5 for -130 over on ESPN. You can get it for plus money if you like the 4.5, but I could see like a 3-2 at worst type of a spot here. So we might look at that first 5 under, and I'll tell you why. So first off, we have Carmen Mlodzinski on the mound going up against Luis Ortiz, pitching against his old team. But both of these guys are ground ball pitchers, and that is something that we've now introduced into the dashboard because I use that a lot for these first 5s. So now it's in there for you guys. We'll show you that in a little bit. Screw it, why don't we just show you now? You can see right here, neither one of these offenses is all that good. So what I'm looking for here is, okay, against righties, I guess, in a sense, from this perspective, neither offense is anything to write home about, right? Now, while some of these numbers, definitely for Ortiz, look a little dicey, right? Not much green up there in terms of whip, FIP, average against, anything like that. Mlodzinski has some green, but also not the best. But look at this bottom row here. Ground ball to fly ball rate. The higher that number, the better, meaning the ratio of how many ground balls to fly balls. And we see a lot of green for both of these guys, right? Now, in terms of a pitch mix, Ortiz going to throw the fastball, the cutter, pretty much anything you throw other than the freaking knuckle curve, which is crazy. Pittsburgh's not going to hit all that well, right? Whereas Mlodzinski over here is going to throw the fastball and slider. Okay, fastball, above average. Slider, they're pretty damn good at it, but they do drop off against right-handed a little bit, and especially some of these, power hitters, right? You could throw in Ramirez, Jones, Santana, I guess, is decent at it, but I do like the fact that, some of these guys do struggle against, say, the slider, for example, or say the fastball, and against right-handed pitching. So to me, you have 2 mediocre at best. I think this is a bad Pittsburgh offense. And Cleveland's offense, I'm not exactly sure where I come out, but I don't think they're all that great. Going up against 2 hands that don't hit well, against 2 guys that like to throw it and induce ground balls, right? So I like this first 5 under a lot. We've been rolling with first 5 unders, and it's been working for us. So, yeah, first 5 under is going to be my main play. If I had to pick a side in this one, I do think that there may be a slight pitching advantage on the Pittsburgh side of things. Not enough to fully trust, but I would say for plus 120 with Pitt at home, that would probably be where I end up taking a peek at this. They're coming off of a series in which they took 3 of 4 against this Washington squad. Cleveland lost 2 of 3 against Baltimore, and their offense, like I said, sure, it gets hot and that type of thing. I don't think Cleveland's offense is all that good, so the advantage a lot of people, I would say, would come into this one being like, well, Cleveland's offense is better. I would just say that both of these teams are bottom-ish tier offenses. Maybe Cleveland's a little bit better, but nothing that I'm loving. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the under first 5, maybe the full game under as well, but also Pitt. But I think that under is probably something that I'm liking a little bit more. Let me just double check and make sure we did not have any player props in this one. Okay, Lane Thomas was one of our, but we've just been religiously cashing this one. I'm a little worried about it. I will say that Mlodzinski is a little bit better against right-handed pitchers. He's going to throw the slider, the fastball, the sinker. All looks okay for Lane Thomas. So, yeah, considering Lane's under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, but how many times can we play this before, we go bust? You know what I mean? All right, Detroit taking on Kansas City. They have Cole Reagans on the mound, who I've really liked this year. In fact, Kansas City not having the best of year, but they've now won 2 straight games in which Reagans pitches in, and he's had 4 starts, right? We'll take the most recent 3 into consideration here, because in each of those games, he's only allowed 1 earned run. He's pitched 5 innings, then 6 innings, then he went into the 8th inning against who they just recently pitched against, Cleveland, right? So this is a good pitcher. I don't think there's any denying that. Going up against Detroit today, they have been a good offense to start the year. I think that we all know that. I might have been wrong about it. Not exactly sure yet, because their offense has been a little bit, touch and go. Yesterday, they went 6-1. Reese Olson pitched okay. Michael Lorenzen did not. But Cole Reagans is a different story, and I think a lot of people rag on Reagans. I think Reagans is a good pitcher, especially pitching from the left side, which I was just about to mention. Detroit does struggle a little bit more against lefties than they do righties. Now, they are at home. That's going to help them out, but another kind of thing that we could throw in there is, 2 things that if you like Detroit, Reagans throws a lot of fastball. He's got a great fastball, right? Detroit hits the fastball well, and Kansas City's offense does stink. Like, as of right now, I said yesterday in the video, at some point this offense is going to get better, but I do think that it is worth considering Cole Reagans and the Royals today. He's just by far better than Jackson Jobe, who's pitching for this Detroit team. Do I think that he's terrible? No, I mean, he's actually looked okay, but he's faced Seattle, Chicago, and Minnesota this season. You're hard-pressed to find worse offenses, right? So, yeah, I'm going to say that the better pitcher is on the Kansas City side of things, and it is priced accordingly, right? You have, by far and away, the better offense, but yet Kansas City is road favorites at minus 140. Makes a little bit of sense. So I don't think we're beating the value there or finding something that the books haven't already thought of themselves in a sense, but I do still think it's a good spot. Kansas City may have the bullpen advantage over them as well. Now, you want to say that the bullpen advantage, I might take a taxed Detroit bullpen over a Kansas City bullpen to begin with. But again, Reagans. I'm going to lean towards Kansas City in this one. And then in terms of a total, I don't mind the under because like I said, Reagans should pitch well against a good Detroit offense. Detroit, their pitcher Jackson Jobe has a bad offense to pitch against. So yeah, could be a spot in which maybe Kansas City says, hey, finally, but I don't necessarily see that happen. I'd like to see that before we actually roll with it. All right, guys, before we do dive into the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Sleeper Picks because they have a great deal going on. Two great deals. First and foremost, you're going to get a Logan Webb 0.5 out square. All he has to do is be out there for 1 out. He throws a pitch. They hit it to shortstop. They force an out there. Boom. It doesn't need to be a strikeout. He cashes. That's going to help boost some of your payouts there. But they also have an up to $100 deposit match right now. So you throw in $100, they're going to give you $100. You could throw in 50. They'll give you 50. Whatever you throw in, they will double, and you can use that in your account. Build a little bit of a bankroll over there. Help. Put it on the Logan Webb free square, right? Check it out. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment, or sign up using code GUYBOSTON on Sleeper. You'll get all the same stuff, but I absolutely love this app. They have alternate lines, so they have more lines than a lot of these other DFS player prop apps out there, and the payouts are what really sold me in a sense, and I started using Sleeper over 2 years ago. Each and every play you throw into your slip changes the payout dynamically via that unique multiplier. They don't just follow a fixed payout structure. 2 for 2 is 3x, 3 for 3 is 5, or anything like that. No. They have a unique payout structure. It's really, really cool. Check it out. That link will be down below again in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Now back to the games. All right, Philadelphia taking on Miami. I will say that this is probably a Philadelphia spot, so don't get me wrong as I kind of go through this. They won 2 of 4 against San Francisco. We kind of called that as a 2-2 series right away. Miami coming off of a series against the Diamondbacks in which they kind of got smoked. They were competitive yesterday, but still, they got swept. But Sandy Alcantara's on the mound, and I do think he's obviously very good. But there are some concerns. But let me kind of say why I don't think that this is like a automatic look at the Phillies run line or Phillies first 5 run line. You do have Zach Wheeler on the mound, but Alcantara is going to throw a bunch of pitches that result in a lot of fastballs. This is a Philly team that does like to, have the power hit involved or drive in runs that way. They can dink and dunk you around the park. Don't necessarily, try and take this and run with it saying that I don't think that that's going to happen. But Alcantara should be able to get out of sticky situations, should be able to pitch well. Some of the righty bats in that lineup I don't envision doing all too well today. In fact, this lineup struggles against righties compared to lefties so far this season. So there are some of these fringe factors that might make you like Miami. But on the other side of things, you have Zach Wheeler, who's an absolute dog. Zach Wheeler should have some, he has some really good numbers against this Miami roster in the past. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs. Okay, Miami doesn't hit the fastball that well. He's going to throw a lot of sinkers. They don't hit the sinker that well. He throws in the cutter, the splitter, all of those high-speed pitches, they don't hit all that well. Even the slider, they don't hit well. You have to get to his curveball, which he only throws 10% of the time for them to finally see a pitch that they hit well. And Miami has hit lefties better than they have righties this year. So anything I said about, how Miami could have a little bit of a good spot here, that type of thing, Phillies, honestly, anything you can do, I can do better in a sense. So that is why I still say it's a Phillies spot, but there is an argument that this could be a little bit more 50-50 than that minus 210 would indicate, but not enough for me to fully get to the Miami side of things, right? So what I would say is this is like again, if I had to lean Phillies team total over, and I'm thinking they get that done in the late innings, not necessarily against Alcantara. I think that they can take on this Miami bullpen, but think about how much of a stretch that is, right? I'm pretty much saying 5 or 6 innings, they may do okay, but not all that great, and then we have to wait till the end of the game, towards the end of the game, I should say, for them to finally start putting up some runs against a really bad bullpen. that isn't exactly like this value hammer spot for me. So I'm just being honest with you guys. I do think the play would be Philly's team total over, which right now, let's see if we can get the updated line on that. Wasn't too bad when we looked at it a little earlier. Now it's a little bit more juice. Minus 165. I think it was minus 150 when we saw it. Still don't necessarily hate it there, but again, when we have to say, at least in this dumb brain, I'm thinking that it's going to come in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings. Last half of the game makes it a little bit more dicey. So yeah, I like Philly team total over. I guess by correlation, I would still lean Phillies, but again, it's not as close as I would like it to be able to figure out how to pull trigger on like Philly's first 5 or something like that. That's where I think this game is 50-50, so I'm kind of sticking away from that. Tampa Bay taking on New York. Drew Rasmussen on the mound for Tampa Bay. Rodon on the mound for New York. He hasn't really looked all that great. He's supposed to be better at home. He hasn't even looked good at home this year, but he is on the road here, in which I guess you could say one of his better starts was that Detroit. Detroit kind of got to him too after a few innings. He looked good for a little bit, but then they just went boom, boom, boom. So I guess, yeah, there should be a pitching advantage for Tampa Bay in this spot, but I don't really want to put all my stock into Rasmussen, who, yeah, has a really good season going. 0.6 ERA, a FIP of 1.4, at home 1.1. But guys, the teams he played, Pittsburgh, Texas, Atlanta, like, I don't know exactly what we're doing here in terms of trying to crown him king in this spot against the Yankees lineup, who is good, right? Like, the Yankees should give you 4 to 6 runs as a floor in a sense. Overall, whereas Tampa Bay's lineup against lefties is really struggling. So though Rodon's on the bump, I think that just helps us maybe get a better line here. I like the Yankees. If you do want to just say, okay, well, screw the Yankees because of Rodon, we could look at a Yankees team total over 3.5 right now for 143. I think that Rasmussen is good, but I think we're vastly overrating how good he is this season in general, just because of the teams he's played. And I shouldn't even say overrating, because again, I do like him. I think he's good, but he has a filthy cutter, right? The Yankees' #1 team at hitting cutters this year, though. But what I'm trying to say is that this is by far and away going to be his biggest test. It is. So I want to sit here and say this is a Yankee spot and throw in the fact, now this is a big one, throw in the fact that this is being played obviously in the Tampa Bay temporary stadium, right? That's the Yankees spring training stadium. So Yankees all day for me in this one. I like their team total over. I like them on the money line. Yeah, I think we're getting good value. Right now you can get the Yankees team total for 3.5. And then also, let's see, what is there? Yeah, minus 106 on the money line. That is where I'd go in this one. And it's, again, not really to rag on Rasmussen. I just think that we're drastically jumping to, him being a stud in all this. I don't know if I fully am behind that based on his sample size so far this year and based on his strength of teams that he's pitched against. So yeah, 2 plays I'd look at that in this one. Real quick, I know I had showed you guys this dashboard a little bit earlier. We flashed it, but I'm going to show you guys how to get access to it. So what you have in the Guy Boston Sports dashboard is each and every game, like you would think, has a dashboard for each game. All parts of the game kind of factored in here, so you get a bird's eye view, a really good starting point view of what this game should entail. Is it a good pitching matchup? Is it a bad pitching matchup? Should the batters hit that side really well or anything like that? For example, Cleveland against right-handed pitchers, you can see where their overall ranks are, and you can see their ranks against righties. Obviously, there's a little bit of a discrepancy there, right? So this is what it is. We have player data, per pitch player data. We have the pitch mix for the pitcher. There's a ton of information in this dashboard, and it's simple to get. You head over to GuyBostonSports.com. In the members tab, you head over to members, and then MLB dashboard. If you're already logged in, you will see the dashboard pop up right here, which is what we just looked at. We'll set this to a no login view so you guys can also see that, because it's going to say, hey, you can't see that without a membership. The memberships are very, very simple and very, very cheap for what you're getting. If you want the NBA and MLB, you get the all sports dashboard. You get any sports dashboard that we produce daily. And then you have the NBA, which is obviously not applicable to this video, but NBA playoffs right now. And then if you just want the MLB dashboard, which is this one that we're looking at here, you get it each and every day. You can download it. You can zoom in. You can print it out, write on it. $4.99 per month. So go ahead and check it out. GuyBostonSports.com. This thing should save you so much time in the morning. Again, I tell you all the time, it's not necessarily the end all be all. I mean, you could make some plays directly from this just by seeing some advantages, but what it is an amazing, amazing starting place. So you kind of know the vibe of the game before digging in even more manually. This pulls like 8 different sites, and some of them I even manually update each and every day. So it saves you time and saves me time. I use this every single day. So check it out, guys. GuyBossSports.com. Consider becoming a member today. Cincinnati taking on Baltimore. Cade Povich is on the mound for Baltimore, and I think this is going to be much like we've done with Sean Burke, who's another young guy that I like. I think this is going to be my last sort of chance at potentially firing on Cade Povich. Now, the odds aren't all that great, right? Baltimore is a fairly heavy favorite. That being said, I do think that they have the better team. I think they have the better offense and the better pitcher here today. Andrew Abbott's on the mound for Cincinnati, who's obviously looked good at times in the past, so I can't fully say that, they have the better pitcher. He has some good numbers against this team as well, but to me, both teams going up against the lefty. Baltimore definitely struggles against the lefty, but they don't struggle as much against the lefty as this Reds team does. So trusting Cade one more time, I'm going to lean towards them on the money line. In terms of the total, I guess an over, because Andrew Abbott surely can get hit around. He definitely allows the ball to get up in the air plenty too, right? And in terms of weather today, I believe Camden Yards is playing pretty easy. I think that there is heavy winds blowing out. So yeah, I'm going to lean over. It just sucks because I do want to trust Cade Povich, right? Like that is, I'm thinking he's good. I've been saying he's good, but he's just definitely not been, like I can't brag that I was early to the Cade Povich train. You know what I mean? Based on how he's been pitching. Has he been pitching bad? Hell no. He just has not been like as good as I'd want him to be. You know what I mean? He's not pitching deep into the games, anything like that. So Baltimore in the over is what I'm going to be considering in this one. Next up, Toronto taking on Seattle. We have Bowden Francis on the bump for Toronto, going up against Brian Wu for Seattle. I'm working myself right now towards a first 5 under. I think that Bowden Francis, though he's having a good year, I'll say that. I think he has like mid-3s ERA, a whip of 1.06. So we have that. Average against of 183, which is really impressive. At home, an average against of 100. So the dude is obviously pitching well. I don't want to say anything against that, but this is more so being able to fade that Seattle offense that is obviously just kind of a struggle bus type offense in general, right? I mean, and they're coming off of, what did they score? I know last game they scored 11 runs yesterday against Cincinnati. The time before that, they scored a decent amount of runs as well. So I'm almost sitting here being like, all right, this offense is not going to stay that hot. Not saying Bowden Francis is this absolute shutdown stud or anything like that, but again, he's looked okay to start the year. So that's kind of the side that I like of Seattle. On the flip side of things, and actually, I would say the one issue I would have with Bowden Francis is, not exactly keeping the ball down, maybe one swing of the bat, that type of thing, but not all that, afraid of this Seattle offense, just kind of middle in terms of slugging percentage, ISO, that type of thing of the league. On the flip side, why do we like Brian Wu to be able to suppress this Toronto offense, at least for the first 5 innings? Well, he's a guy that can definitely get, ground balls induced. Now, against lefties, not so much, but there's only a couple lefties in the lineup today for this Toronto squad. He's off to a decent start this year, and I've kind of already said, I haven't necessarily liked him in the past, but kind of big on Brian Wu this season, and so far, so good. Now, he's gone up against the Athletics, San Francisco, and Texas. The one good offense being San Francisco that he saw, he didn't pitch all that well against. So I think that is worth noting, but he pitches from the right side, and even just using the dashboard here, guys, you could see Toronto against righties, not exactly killing it. Now, some of their guys do have good averages, but overall, and again, when I say not killing it, 243 average, that's good enough for 13th in the league. It's not that bad, but ultimately not as good as them hitting lefties. So I think that Brian Wu could also kind of stand his ground in this one as well. So first 5 under is going to be my spot, and then, yeah, I kind of want to lean towards Seattle because we get the plus money, and I do think Francis and Wu could keep this game low scoring, meaning maybe 4 runs wins this one, which is, if this is a really high total or something like that, then yeah, Toronto, I think, is a better offense just kind of fundamentally, but if this is going to be a low scoring game, it gives Seattle a better chance. So yeah, that's going to be the direction I lean in here from a total perspective as well. Under and then money line perspective, I'm going to look at Seattle. You get that plus money. In terms of what we have from a player prop, we do have a couple that I have notes of as of right now. Let's see if, okay. So first off, we have Alan Roden here, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And again, we haven't fully dove into these ones. They're just kind of ones that we have as our maybe list. And then Luke Raley here, not Cal, Luke Raley, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, both of those guys. All right, we got the What Color Are Your Socks series again. Red Sox taking on the White Sox. Martin Perez on the mound going up against Hunter Dobbins. This one we can talk about really quickly because I don't want to sit here and say that this is I love Hunter Dobbins or anything like that. I think he pitched in, was it one of the doubleheader games? Looked okay, right? But he's going up against Perez, who's actually been pretty good this year. But this White Sox team is not good, right? The Red Sox should be able to score off of Perez, I would think, as well. He has some really bad numbers against them, including a 19.6% K rate compared to a 15.2% walk rate, average against of 333, a slugging, expected slugging 463, expected WOBA 395. So this should be Red Sox all day long. I just can't touch this with a 10-foot pole with, somewhat of an unknown. He just got called back up from AAA, right? An unknown pitcher at minus 200 and beyond odds. So that is not for me. What I would say is if we can get a good price, which I don't really think we're going to be able to, Red Sox team total over would be something that I consider. They're at home here. In terms of the weather, it could be a little rainy, but honestly, 60-ish degrees, wind blowing directly out to center, could be a good spot for that, right? And in terms of, like I said, what we'd be getting for a line, you're over 4.5 is minus 150 right now. The thing I concern myself with there is that the Red Sox only had 5 runs or more in one of their last 10 games. That's big yikes. So yeah, kind of a tough spot to really, really back them, but that is kind of how I'm thinking about this game. And then no player props as of right now. All right, Mets taking on St. Louis. This one honestly is somewhat tough as I sit here and try and break this one down. I will say Mets is probably where I'd go, but they're like right at that. They're minus 170. I think I've seen minus 165s out there. They're right at the peak price that I would even think about taking them. David Peterson's on the mound against Miles Mikolas. I would say that there's a strong advantage to the Mets, and it's not exactly even because of David Peterson. It's more so a fade of Mikolas. You know what I mean? So that's not always the best thing to be going off of either. Like, oh, we're going to just fade another pitcher, but we're paying minus 165. Seems a little crazy to me. Peterson, though, has looked pretty good. I just don't know if I'm a full believer, right? Mikolas has looked bad. So that I think we know, and we've seen that in years past as well. So this will be Mets or nothing for me. Maybe a peek at the over. We saw yesterday that game finished 4-1. Of course, all of those runs were in the first 5 innings. We did have the first 500. That was one of our 2 losses yesterday. I could see this one being a little bit more high scoring. You have the Cardinals, who do hit lefties pretty damn well, and the Mets, I'll say it, and I keep saying it, I'm going to keep being wrong about it until I'm right. That's how things work, right? At some point, this Mets offense, there's too many good names in that lineup. At some point, they will kind of get it going. So Mets and the over here in this spot. Atlanta taking on Minnesota. You have Chris Paddock on the mound going up against Bryce Elder. Chris Paddock, not someone that I want to be, investing in or backing. He is volatile, I would say, as all hell. But you have Bryce Elder, who looks like he's throwing T-ball to start the year. Now, he went up against the Dodgers, and then he kind of caught the Rays right in the middle of that Rays sort of scoring run. So maybe you can make an argument as to why he's better than he looks or that type of thing. But to me, this is a spot in which both pitchers, like I use the word volatile, that's nothing that I really want to get involved with. I probably would end up leaning towards an over, but do we really trust Minnesota's lineup? And then on the flip side, like, what have we seen out of the Braves to trust that their offense is back? They go, 5-3-8. Like, okay, they're back. Then they go 3-1 in terms of runs scored. This is a Braves team that's really been struggling. Same thing with Minnesota. I said volatile about the pitching. Both offenses are volatile as well. So, I would say a pass on this one. This is not a game that after we record this and put it out that I'm going to spend much more time trying to decipher and get some final plays on. So hopefully that helps you guys, because sometimes when you just avoid a game that just has too many question marks, it almost feels like a net win, right? So I'll lean towards Atlanta because they're home, and the over because I think both these pitchers could, let up a bunch of runs, but the offenses are just as much of a question mark. So tough one here. Apologies, but not sorry. This is not one that I want to get involved with today. Texas and the Dodgers. So my thoughts on this are pretty, I guess, quick in a sense. This is an interesting spot to potentially say, okay, well, can DeGrom keep this team in it? Yamamoto's pitching, and he's looked really, really good, but, Texas's offense is questionable. I get that, but they've looked a little bit better. Can DeGrom be good enough to keep this team in it? And I would say the answer to that is probably yes. My biggest concern is that, and I've already made it very, very clear, when the Dodgers play righties or face righties, that's when to back them. When they face lefties, that's when to start your consideration. I'm not even saying you do it. That's when you start your consideration to take the other side. DeGrom's really good. I understand that, but it's still kind of going against my rule if we like the Texas Rangers here. Yamamoto is very, very good, so it's not like this Rangers team has a pitching advantage because of DeGrom. I think this could be a closer game than people think, but the odds kind of, at minus 130, how often are you going to get the Dodgers at minus 130? You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's going to be the spot that I lean towards, the Dodgers. If DeGrom was somehow a lefty and we're still getting the same odds, I quite honestly would flip like that, because I don't even think that was a good snap. That's better. Left hand's better, I guess. But Dodgers are much more of a strugglesome team against lefties. It just happens that DeGrom throws, he's really good at it, but throws the fastball and slider. I don't trust it against the righties. Now, he had some good numbers against them, so if you like DeGrom today, I'm not trying to tell you not to, but to me, it's going to be Dodgers as well as the over. I think that this is just for the Dodgers being involved here, this is too low of a number, and I'm kind of just thinking of it like from a outside perspective, being like, how often are you going to get a total of 7.5 in the Dodgers at minus 130? You know what I mean? So that'll be where I lean in this one. I feel like we're hitting like a slippery slide here of games that just are not interesting me. We had Atlanta, Minnesota. Now we have Houston, San Diego. We have Ryan Gusto on the mound going up against Kyle Hart. And I'm sitting here being like, what? This is like, are we rolling the dice? Or are we trying to decipher some games and find some edges here? Because you're rolling the dice if you trot out Kyle Hart with any money behind him. He looked really good in his last start against Colorado. He went 6 innings, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts, 0 earned against Colorado again. Houston has Gusto on the bump today, and he's pitched out of relief a few times. He's looked okay, but Houston's offense is just right now terrible. So it's like, realistically, you are absolutely rolling the dice on both of these squads. I would say for plus 133, no question in my mind, are you getting the better offense in San Diego, right? So I would lean towards San Diego in this spot. That's kind of that's, I guess, a side that I would be like, you're not necessarily rolling the dice, I guess, but you definitely, if you like San Diego on the money line, like we just said, you are rolling the dice. Maybe San Diego's team total over. We can get Kyle Hart out of here, not have to worry about him, and all we have to say is, hey, go get to Gusto, go get to the Astros bullpen, which hasn't been all that easy this year, but, over 3.5 right now seems like it could be a fair spot for the San Diego team. On the road this year, they've kind of been struggling, only 3.5 runs, whereas, on the season, they're averaging nearly 5. So that's something to take into consideration. But again, to me, they do have, Gusto pitching. He throws a lot of fastballs. This team should be able to hit the fastball pretty well from him. I'll take their team total over. And that's kind of a hybrid of, the side and the total. Milwaukee taking on the Athletics. This Athletics team is looking good. I know I've kind of been an A's hater, but got to give them credit. I mean, they played the White Sox, but their offense did their thing. 2 of those 3 games, they scored 8 runs and then 12 runs. Milwaukee, against a Detroit team that seemed like they were fairly hot, looked pretty good as well. They now have Freddie Peralta, who's having a good season, really, to start the year, right? Making his 5th start, and he's gone up against Arizona, the Yankees. He also pitched against Kansas City, who now we know maybe their offense is struggling, and then there's one bad team mixed in there. He's pitching against JT Ginn today, who JT Ginn, this is a spot in which it's like, okay, some of his numbers look good. He has 1 start under his belt, though, right? So we can't necessarily, take this and run with it. Young pitcher, pitching from the right side. The Brewers hit righties better. Do we want to pay minus 150 of a price? I'm not sure, but this is probably a spot in which I'm willing to back Freddie Peralta. From a bullpen perspective, anything can happen in the late game here. But I would say that, I kind of like that because I'm looking at Milwaukee with this huge offensive advantage. So if they can go out there and, score later on in the game and that type of thing, I think it obviously helps us. So, yeah, I would lean Milwaukee, maybe a Milwaukee team total over. Right now, that's 4.5. And this Athletics team, again, they just played the White Sox, so I don't want to take much away from them there. But they've been allowing a decent amount of runs overall. Their bullpen, 22nd in ERA rank. WHIP is 26, 22nd for K rate. And Milwaukee at home this year has looked pretty decent. Their last 5 home games, they've scored 7, 8, 1. Okay, that was tough, but that was against Tariq Skubal, if I'm not mistaken. And then 5 and 5. So it's like, yeah, I guess at home we can trust Milwaukee to go out there and at least put a decent number up. So I'll take Milwaukee team total over. And again, like we've kind of been doing these last few in terms of our leans, that is kind of just a hybrid approach of both the total and the I guess the side. I don't mind the idea of Milwaukee money line, but just because you're getting, 10 cents of value on the team total over, that's kind of why I would lean in that direction. But again, if you do like Freddie Peralta involved, like I don't think that this is a team. Usually when we take team total over, it might be because we're trying to get rid of the pitcher's involvement. That's not exactly what I'm doing here today. This is more so because I just want less variables. Freddie Peralta, I think, will be able to go out there and play pretty well, but you're also paying a way higher price because he's pitching, if that makes sense. If we want to back Freddie Peralta, the way that I would probably do it is take a peek at Brent Rooker, who obviously has, had some struggles this year, but he's already up to like 5 or 6 home runs. But I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Now, if he goes out there and says, okay, well, I'm going to go and hit a home run, then yeah, we're screwed. But we're going to see a lot of fastballs from Freddie Peralta, and I think this is a fair spot. Now, 2 plate appearances against Peralta, he does have 1 home run, so he has that going for him, right? But he's batted against righties worse than he has lefties this year. His batting average against, Freddie Peralta's batting average against right-handed batters is .077. In the fastball, his WOBA drops to 211. That is from 317 on the year. The changeup, his WOBA drops. The curve, that's what he can hit. So Freddie Peralta hangs one over there. This guy loves to hit some junk, but the curve and the slider should be the last 2 pitches we see from Peralta. So yeah, I feel like we're taking a kind of a chance here, but I like Rooker's under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. If he hits a home run, so be it. If he's going to follow the trend of hitting Peralta well, which again, small sample size, but he's 1 for 2 with a home run, so be it. I think Peralta, I'm trusting him today in this one matchup, I guess. Colorado taking on Washington. Now, I don't know if it's because of the weather. It looks like we do have some bad weather in this one, or because both these teams aren't all that great, but it's in Coors, and you're seeing a total of 8.5. That says a lot about the 2 teams. Like I said, there's probably a little bit of weather involved, obviously, but you do have Mackenzie Gore on the bump going up against Chase Dollander, who, I'm not going to lie, I haven't been like, oh my God, he stinks in a sense. Like, I think he's looked okay. We watched him against San Diego. Yeah, 2 earned runs through 5 2/3, but they ended up losing that game 2-0. He had 7 Ks, so I'm not trying to say I'm like going to be a fan of this dude or anything like that, but I'm not a big Chase Dollander hater right now. He's super, super young, and through 2 starts, he's got a whip of 1.2. That's not great. ERA is not great, but I think he's got some potential. Now, Mackenzie Gore, on the other hand, is obviously a decent pitcher. Definitely has his struggles, and especially on the road, which being in Coors doesn't look like it's all that great. But to me, this is kind of like, weirdly enough, to compare it to the Texas and Dodgers game. It's like, how often are we going to get a favorite over this Rockies team at just like -120, right? And this is still a Washington lineup that, though they had a really bad series against the Pirates, I still want to see that they're like, before we say this lineup stinks, and I had been saying it's a little empty, I think they're going off, but they're not as good as they look. Before we make that final claim, I do want to see maybe another series. Like, if they don't hit well against Colorado, then all of a sudden we can be like, yeah, this offense was hot at the beginning of the year, and now they've cooled off. But to me, this is a Washington spot, as well as an over. I know, like I said, there's rain, there's some weather, but even though I like the Dollander kid, like, we're still in Coors, and this is a very, very low number. Usually we're fading science, because that's when it's at 11.5, 12.5. Here it's kind of like, it could be, oh my God, hold on. Now we're looking at the weather. I saw a 90-something% chance of precipitation. I'm seeing 94% chance of snow. All right, screw. We're not going to touch this game. Snow? Are you kidding me? I'm glad we just looked at 2 different sites. They had said chance of precipitation 90%. It's like, okay, well, that's probably some rain. Not crazy wind, right? We come over here to RotoWire, which is another site that I would use, and look at this. 94% chance of snow. Thanks, no thanks. We're probably not touching this game. Let's move on to the last one. All right, last game up, we got the Angels taking on San Francisco. Angels trotting out Tyler Anderson, going up against Logan Webb. Logan Webb is obviously a good pitcher. Tyler Anderson, I would say, obviously not that good of a pitcher. You're paying a decent amount of juice, but this is probably a spot in which San Francisco pulls this one out. I'm not a huge believer in this Angels offense, even though they've looked pretty good, but much like we just talked about with Washington, they kind of look like they're going and headed in the wrong direction, right? Whereas San Francisco, they've made me a believer, right? Like, I'm man enough to admit, did not believe in this offense. They've looked pretty damn good. Chris Sanchez, we had their over in team total. They got to him to some degree. He still pitched really, really well, but they did put up a couple against him. So yeah, San Francisco all day for me in this one. I also don't mind their team total over, just in general. And then no real player props that I'm loving in this one. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. I mean that every time I say it. I don't take any of this for granted. I really do appreciate it. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.